What's up, guys? Welcome back to a new video. This is going to be my Cyberpunk 2077 review. I think I've put about 30 something hours into the game now, maybe closer to 40. I've completed the main story, a decent amount of side missions and gigs, I would say, and I think I have a pretty good grasp on what I really think about this game at this point. So starting off, I'm going to give my take on the bugs and performance of the game. There's definitely a crap ton of bugs in the game, and you're for sure going to see a lot throughout your playthrough, unless maybe they patch those later on, which I'm assuming hopefully they do. But yeah, some of the things I can think of for my playthrough: when I equipped a new weapon and held it in my hands, it would just start automatically shooting sometimes. That happened 3 or 4 times when I was playing the game over like the 40-hour period, like I said before. Sometimes the dialogue starts spazzing out and you can't really hear what's going on. Everyone's talking over each other. I also remember towards the beginning of the game, I got launched across the map from some type of launch glitch or whatever the hell it was. One of the bigger things I noticed was I actually ended up killing a character in one of the early on missions, semi-early on. And then in one of the side missions later on, I actually killed the same character. So I did kill one of the boss characters twice. Definitely wasn't really impressed to kill him the second time, wasn't looking forward to it. And that's just a few of the bugs I saw. There's a lot more I saw for sure, and other people I've seen I know for sure. I can't even remember them all, but at the end of the day, the bugs, I'm willing to give them a pass. I don't really care about the bugs, to be honest. I really couldn't care about small bugs that much. There were a few bigger bugs, but nothing too bad that wouldn't waste too much time. Moving on to the performance, everyone already knows last gen PS4 and Xbox One has horrible performance, like 15 to 20 FPS. We can definitely tell they had next gen in mind when they were developing this game. But just my personal experience with the performance, I have a 2060 Super and a 3600. I originally started playing on low because I thought I needed to and was getting around 60 FPS. But then I turned my settings to high. I think I turned down the cascaded shadows or something like that, which is a big killer. It's supposed to be a big PC killer. And I ended up hitting like 70 to 80 FPS in most areas. And that's another complaint I have. The FPS varied way too much depending on where you were in Night City or in the Badlands. In some of the more populated areas in Night City, I would be hitting 50 to 60 FPS. And in other areas, I would actually be hitting like 105 to 110 FPS. So it did vary quite a lot. That was a big performance issue for me. It seemed like whenever there were a lot of NPCs in one area and you were looking at them, your FPS just dropped dramatically. Definitely wish they could have done a better job on that, just because Night City feels a little bit empty, to be honest. There's not too many cars on the road. I had my NPC thing on a medium. You can have it on low, medium, or high. I had it on medium. I think I turned it up to high. And even then, it wasn't astounding what you would expect for Night City, which is supposed to be bustling and busy. Don't get me wrong, in certain areas, you can definitely see a lot of NPCs, like at nighttime in Japantown, but other than that, it just felt kind of empty. But yeah, moving on to more of the actual like game features and story and everything, I'm going to start off with some pros. I think the story was very good. I think mostly everyone's going to enjoy the story. They were very clever in the way they introduced certain things, and some of the stories tied in together. Definitely an enjoyable time. It wasn't anything out of this world, don't get me wrong, but it was a very good story. One of the other things I did really enjoy was the driving in first person only. The third person driving looked stiff and felt stiff. It was terrible. I don't know, it just felt really good in first person, felt really smooth, but yeah, third person was just not the way to go. As far as the weapon gameplay, I was actually very impressed by how smooth and slick the weapons were. This was the only thing I was super worried about coming into this. I thought the gun gameplay might be terrible or not up to par, but it was definitely better than I expected, and I was pretty impressed with that, I would say. One more thing I did forget to add in the video, the AI in the game at times is terrible. What I was talking about as far as combat goes is how the weapons feel, how they shoot, how the gunplay feels. As far as the AI actually shooting back at you or running around or doing whatever, a lot of times it is very terrible, I will admit. Other than those points, though, there was nothing that really jumped out at me that said this game was very good or far above average. So starting off with the cons, I think some of the side quests were kind of repetitive and kind of just bland. Don't get me wrong, there was a lot of great side quests, I think, but I got to a certain point where I was like, alright, I don't really want to be playing these side quests anymore. I'm just going to finish the main story. And before I even knew it, the main story was done, and that was it. But yeah, I think some of the side quests belonged in the gig category, which is Basically just like a one mission type deal is what they call gigs in the game, kind of like mercenary for hire deals. But there were some good side quest storylines, and I have missed some for sure. I haven't played all of the side missions, but I just feel like some of them belonged in the gig category and weren't really side quests, to be honest. Another thing I just thought of actually is when you're in the city kind of just driving around towards the beginning more, you kind of just keep getting calls from random NPCs on and on and on and on, and it just seems like it doesn't stop. So I think the way they introduced some of these side quests weren't great. I mean, I would have liked to see more of these characters introduced in the main story, and then maybe you branched off and did side quests for them. I just feel like calling you up out of nowhere is kind of just weird, and you don't really get to know the character. Like, there's a lot of great characters in the game, but at the same time, there were a lot of characters that I really just didn't even know or didn't even pay much attention to besides doing their missions. So I definitely felt they could have done a little bit better with introducing new fixers, characters, whatever it may be. Getting into the next thing, for me personally, I wasn't a big fan of the attribute tree or skill tree or whatever you want to call it. I think I've seen quite a few people say they've really liked the skill tree and how it worked, but honestly, I just can't say the same. I mean, maybe I'm in the wrong here or in the minority, but the only time I really cared for the perks or attributes or whatever was when I had to open a door or something, I would level up my body, you know, or if I had to quick hack something and I wasn't the right level, you know, I would upgrade it. Or if I was in a dialogue sequence and I didn't have enough points to say whatever I wanted to say, then I would upgrade. I mean, I basically just stockpiled my points and waited for those sort of things to happen. But as far as I could see with the perks, I mean, there just wasn't anything too interesting that I was like, I have to have this perk. It's gonna change the game. It's gonna add a new feature. You know, just nothing really like that for me. I mean, I also really just didn't care for the Ripper doc. Like, again, maybe this is just me being lazy, but whenever I first got introduced to it, I just wasn't interested at all in any of the stuff he was offering. For most of the game, I just relied on 2 quick hacks, which was ping, so you can see all the enemies, and reboot optics, so you can blind enemies for like a certain amount of time. Then I would just stealthily kill everyone pretty easily. So I didn't really feel the need to upgrade to any more quick hacks. And the ones I actually looked at weren't too interesting. Like, they were, again, pretty bland. I mean, again, there's probably some more interesting ones you could find. I didn't look too hard, but I tried finding a couple interesting ones to add to my arsenal, and I was like, I don't even need this stuff. It's not too interesting either. It's not going to help me that much. So it's just like, all right, I'm just going to keep rebooting optics and stealthily taking people out. And if I wasn't playing stealthily, I was just powering through with my favorite weapons, which were the revolver and the sniper, which I think were pretty overpowered. At one point, you get a silenced sniper, or it's like semi-silenced. If you're in like a small room, obviously they're going to hear it. But a big thing I was expecting more from was the choices, really. I mean, the choices didn't make as big as a difference as I really thought they were going to when I first booted up the game. It felt like a lot of the choices were kind of just dialogue changes that would slightly change your path, but in the end, you're going to hit the same ending. And then at the end of the game as well, it kind of just felt like out of nowhere, they forced these options onto you. I won't go too much into that, but that kind of just came out of nowhere. So you make a lot of your choice at the end of the game, in my opinion, and I don't know, it wasn't quite what I was expecting. It wasn't on par with the level of choice making I was expecting at all. But I will say I did enjoy picking different dialogue things and everything like that. That was all pretty smooth. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say, I guess. I mean, the game was pretty good, really good. Somewhere around there, 8 out of 10, 8.5 out of 10, 9 out of 10, maybe. The concept of the game and the story, I think, is the only thing that really makes this game special. Well, there is one thing, actually. The graphics do make this game very special. I mean, even on high settings on my PC, this game looks stunning. So I can only imagine with ray tracing on. I think I turned it on once and it looked great. But yeah, the graphics are definitely a strong point as well. But anything besides that wasn't mind-blowing at all, you know what I mean? So if I think to myself, am I going to go back and choose a different lifestyle, make different choices, and play through this game again? Honestly, probably not. I mean, there's a chance, but, you know, maybe a month or 2 down the line, I'll come back and play this game again. But yeah, right now, I'm a little burnt out. Been playing it for like 3 or 4 days straight. Go ahead and play it. I recommend it. But just beware, it's not what it's hyped up to be. I thought realistically it might get close to what it was hyped up to be, or somewhere close, but I think it hit below there even for me. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed the video, go ahead and like it and subscribe for more content. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.